Hello guys, thank you for being here. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to draft this inbuilt cupped corset with yoke. So if this is what you're interested in, please keep watching. So to begin, I'm going to start by marking out my start line. I'm using 1/2 inch. I'm going to rule a straight line, a straight horizontal line. So this start line is also serving as a shoulder line. So from that point, I'm going to take all my vertical measurements. I'm marking my bust point while my tape is right on the shoulder line. And then I'll come down to mark my under bust point of 16 inches. My bust point is 12 inches. And then the waist point is 18 inches. And the hip point, remember this corset is an inbuilt corset and is going to stop around the upper hip. So the hip point is 24.5 inches, which is the full length of the pattern paper. I'll go on and mark a horizontal line across the points. So I'll take my shoulder measurement. The shoulder measurement I'm working with is 16 inches. 16 divided by 2 is 8 inches plus 1/2 inch for seam allowance. Then I'll go ahead to take my neck width of 3 inches and neck depth of 3 inches. I'll rule a line and give it a curve around there. So at the shoulder point, I'll come down by 1 inch. This is for my shoulder slant because the shoulder is not straight, so we need to slant the shoulder. At the shoulder point, I'll come down for my armhole depth. To determine your armhole depth, all you need to do is to divide your bust measurement by 6 and add 1.5 inches. I'll go ahead and mark a horizontal line across that point, which is going to serve as my chest line. I'll go on and label all the lines. So my chest line, I have my bust point, my under bust, my waist point, and the hip point. So I'll get the midpoint of my armhole depth, and at that midpoint I'll come in by 5 inches by 0.5, which is 1/2 inch. And I'll go ahead to divide my bust measurement by 4. I'll mark it there. So I'm going to be connecting these 3 points together from the shoulder point to the point, the 1/2 inch point I came in by, down to my round bust measurement divided by 4. So I'll take my body measurement now. I'm working with bust of 41 inches. So I divided that by 4. I marked it there. I'm working with waist measurement of 36 inches. But because I want to snatch the waist a little, I'm going to reduce it by 2 inches. So I'll be working with waist measurement of 34 inches. So I'm going to be dividing 34 divided by 4. And I'll mark it right there, which is 8.5. Then I'm working with hip measurement. The upper hip is 41 inches. I went ahead to also divide that by 4, which gave me 10.25. I'll go ahead to connect all the dots. Then I'll mark my dart line, which is from one nipple to another nipple. The bust span is 9 inches. I'm dividing 9 inches by 2, which is 4.5. So I marked 4.5, and I'll rule a straight line from the bust point down to the hip. Then I'll go over to my shoulder line and I'm going to determine the midpoint there. And from that midpoint, I'm going to connect a line into my bust point line there. I'm going to determine how much coverage I want for my busts. So you can choose to maintain your chest line, or you can choose to go up if you want your bust to really be covered. So I'm going to be going up by 2 inches because I want a complete coverage at the upside. I'm going to rule a straight line there. This is my new chest line. I'll go down to my under bust to take my under bust tightening. I'll be using 2.5. I'll remember working with a bust measurement of 41 inches. So if you're working with bust of 38, you can use 2 inches, 33, 32, 34, you can use 1.5. So the 2.5 inches, I went ahead to divide it equally on both sides of my dart line. So which is 1.25 on each side. I also went ahead to rule it down to my hip line. Then I'll come to my bust point. I'll come down by 1 inch and I'll create a curve from that point to my under bust point. Coming down from your bust point by 1 inch or half inch, just create enough room for your bust. So I'll go over to my chest line and mark out my over bust tightening. I'll be using 2 inches, so I will share it equally, 1 inch on each side. If you have a smaller bust, you can use 1.5 and share it either equally or unequally on each side of the dart line. So I'll come over to create the bridge in between the two busts. I'll be doing this at the chest line. If you want more of your cleavage to show, you can go down from the chest line by half or 1 inch, but I'll be maintaining the chest line. So at the chest line, I'm going to come in by half an inch. After which, I'm going to place my French curve and I'm going to roll a line, creating a sweetheart neckline at that point. Roll a line from there into my new chest line, and then I'll roll the line into the armhole just the way I just did it. So now I've created my sweetheart neckline. So from that half inch point, I'm going to create a curve connecting into my under bust. Yes, just creating it from that half inch into the under bust point. You can see we already have our center cup. Before creating the side part of the cup, I'm going to be taking the bust dart. So at the bust point, I'll be coming down by 1.5 inches. That's the difference between the front waistline and the back waistline. So I'll come down at that bust point by 1.5 and I'll be ruling a slanted line from that 1.5 into the bust point at the dart. Then I'll go ahead to slash through the bust point line just like I'm doing. And I'll also go over to the shoulder. I'll add my half inch for sewing allowance and I will slash through that shoulder line as well. The reason for slashing through the shoulder line is just to enable the pattern paper move freely so I can cover up my bust dart. The reason for the bust dart is to enable the front waistline and the back waistline to align properly. Usually the front waistline is longer than the back waistline. Like for this particular corset, the front waistline is 18 inches, while the back waistline is 16.5. So the difference is 1.5. That's the difference I used to mark the bust dart. So always make sure you take your front and back waistline separately, because for most people there's always this difference, except for people with very small busts. So I went ahead to use a masking tape to hold it down at that point after adjusting the pattern paper to cover it up, to cover up the dart. I'll go ahead to create the side part of my bra cup. I'll be using my dart measurement of 4.5. So I'm going to place my tape right at the dart line and take 4.5. But I'll also add half an inch to it, making it 5 inches, just for better coverage. So I marked it there and I'm going to connect the dots right from the armhole into the under bust. Just like this. So we have our full bra cup now. The center, front and the side part of the bra cup is ready. And so I'm going to be cutting out this part that I'm marking out. These are the parts that I'll be cutting out. So now I'll go ahead to replace all my dart measurements. From the hip line is 2.5. I replaced that, and also I added 1.5 inches as my seam allowance. I did that at the waist and at the bust as well. I replaced my dart at the bust, which is supposed to be 2 inches, but I'm using 1.5 there because I want the tightening. I want a very good tightening, so I won't be replacing 2 inches. I replaced 1.5 instead, and then I added 1.5 as for my seam allowance. So I'll go ahead and roll out my lines. So at the hip line, I'm going to go up by 2 inches to create a curve at that point. So next, I'll go ahead and cut out. Just watch carefully how I'm going about it. So guys, if you watched to this point and you're yet to subscribe to my channel, please subscribe, like, turn on the post notification bell, because I'm going to be uploading a lot of interesting videos this period. Also, the sewing part of this corset is going to be uploaded soon, as well as the skirt part. You won't want to miss out on that, so turn on your post notification bell and stay connected. So after cutting out, I'll go ahead to use my masking tape to hold the yoke parts. That's the yoke part there. It's very important because we are attaching yoke to this corset. Alright, so this is it. Go ahead and mark your cups. Make sure you mark them very well so that they don't get mixed up. And I'm holding my yoke together as well. So to create the back part of my corset, I've gone ahead to mark my start line, placing my tape there and taking my bust point, my waist point. So to get the full length of the corset for the back, what I'm going to do is I'll take the front part of my corset and I'll measure from the waist to the full length there. I'm going to be marking that full length. What I got was 6 inches, so I'm going to be marking 6 inches here. This is going to help it align well. So now I'll go over to my shoulder, mark my shoulder measurement of 8.5, my neck width of 3 inches and neck depth of 1.5 inches. So I'm giving it a curve, and then I'll come down by 1 inch to get my shoulder slant, after which I'll take my armhole depth and then I'll rule a horizontal line, making that line my chest line. In my bust point, I'm labeling the lines, waist point and hip point. So I'll take the body measurement, my bust measurement, divide by 4, and also I mark the midpoint and I just ruled a curve there at the back armhole. Then the bust dart, which is 4.5, I marked it and ruled a straight line. So now in taking my body measurements, I went ahead to mark my waist measurement and hip measurements, just like we did in the front. So we are just running over this one. So I'll take my bust dart of 1/2 inch at both sides, and then I'll take 1/4 inch at the top. I'll connect the dots. So I'll be cutting that out. So now to create the keyhole back neckline, I came down by 2 inches and I gave it a curve. Then I came out from the armhole by 3 inches, and you can see how I curved it in a C kind of shape there. So I'll go on to replace my dart measurements, 1 inch and 1/2 inch at the top. Then I'm adding 1.5 inches for my seam allowance. and I'm connecting the dots. So now I'm going to be creating the neckline. You can choose to give it a slight curve. You can choose to maintain that part just as it is, but I'll just give it a slight curve at that point before cutting out my yoke. So you can see my yoke for the back and the shape at the back. So I'm going to come in by 1.5 inch. If you notice there is no zipper allowance, that's because we are using eyelet at the back. I'm also taking away from the back 1.5 inch. I'm going to place the front part of the corset pattern at the back waistline. Make sure it's aligning, and then you mark the curve part. So I'll go on and roll my curve. And I'll also mark out my shoulder seam allowance. So after this, we're basically done. The next thing is to cut out. So guys, watch how I'm going about it so you don't get yours mixed up. And it's also very important to label your patterns after you're done cutting. So this is the yoke. I'm cutting the yoke, and yeah, I'm going to cut that part off. It's not needed. So this is the part that we need. This is the yoke part that is needed. You can see there. So if you're yet to subscribe, guys, please subscribe. Okay, thank you. Subscribe, like, comment, share our videos, turn on your post notification bell so you are always updated whenever I upload a new video, because we have amazing tutorials coming your way. So thank you for staying tuned today. Thank you for watching to this point. Remain blessed. See you in my next video. Bye.